welcome to our side of the fence. Today we have Ashley Ford, who is the executive director of Horse Haven of Tennessee, which is a fantastic nonprofit that we have the pleasure of, doing multiple events with every year. We've done quite a bit of work out at your all's places as well, and we actually have a staff member that's a volunteer down there as well. So obviously getting to know you guys the last few years has been nothing but exciting. And the cherry on top is that y'all are some of our best friends, you and your husband and your family. So, we're just glad to have you on. And we got Birdie in here wagging her tail today. Jane's off.
She's a little bit more noisier than Jane, so we'll try.
Little. She's real good though. But what do we got? Let's talk about your guys' big event you guys got coming up.
We gotta back it up a little bit. Tell our viewers, what is Horse Haven? What does Horse Haven do for the community?
So we were started in 1999 as the first equine rescue in the entire state. And so that we've been in business for 25 years. We'll be celebrating our anniversary this year. And we work with law enforcement on abuse and neglect cases for horses, donkeys, mules, minis, anything equine related. So basically, if you see a skinny horse, you file a complaint and the state handles it.
Like you call non-emergency, I'm guessing.
You can call your local sheriff's department or animal control and then contact the Tennessee Department of Agriculture.
Awesome.
And so then from there, if they decide to pull the animal, they call us and we rehab it and then ultimately rehome it.
So you guys, okay. So your volunteers do everything, like literally go get the horses from whatever situation they're in at the moment, like rescue them. That's the part I'm most excited about.
Yeah, that is the cool side of it, the adrenaline side of it. When you're on site and you have, 15 officers and agents all around you, and the main goal is to get those horses out of harm's way immediately.
As fast as possible.
As fast and safe as possible.
So I know, because we talk about this often, that most of the time you can't really tell me about a lot of the rescues because they're wrapped up in legal court cases. Mm-hmm. Can you share one of maybe your favorite stories that's not in a court case anymore?
Shoot, man, there's so many. There are so many.
Well, wasn't your personal horse a rescue?
She was. I was not on that call.
Oh, you weren't on that call.
But she was in a group of 88 horses rescued out of Cannon County.
And from a hoarder
situation. And the Humane Society of the United States was involved in that pickup as well. It was a big deal.
Like an ASPCA commercial.
Yes.
Okay, but what's one of your favorite stories or most exciting stories, or is there
good transformation?
Or is there one specific horse that sticks out?
Seriously, there are so many. We've had, when we go on a call, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. Mm. Number one, that's the biggest thing. We are just told by what the officers may have knowledge about. We've had people who they have to be detained as soon as we get there because they are losing their minds. Please don't take my horses, or they're very aggressive, and they're potentially hauled off to jail right in front of us. So, that's kind of the scary side of it is, who's in that house.
Do the police go with you guys?
Yes.
Every time?
Every time.
So you call them, because you guys do rescues all over the state.
Correct. All 95 counties.
So you just call when you're getting close. You're like, hey, homeboy, we're getting close. Meet us at XYZ.
They tell us where to meet. We stage off-site.
Okay.
Maybe 3 or 4 miles down the road. And we get a game plan together as best as what we can. And then we're just kind of all briefed on what the situation is, who's there, that kind of stuff. And then we go in. We're the good guys, right? Yeah. So law enforcement's taking the animals, and we're the ones who's going to care for them and love on them and take care
rescuing them.
Yeah, take care of their children, their babies.
Because most of these people are mentally ill, I'm guessing.
There's a lot of mental health issues.
Yeah.
In what we deal with, a lot of hoarding situations, and then there's just a lot of bad people. It's just kind of a mix.
That have these horses but don't take care of them.
Right. And a lot of times it's not just horses that they have. They might have 100 rabbits in their house. They might have, 50 head of cattle out back.
But you just take the horses? So
We will help, like, facilitate, like, if we know somebody that can take in cattle. We've had that situation before where we've had to call a farmer that's like, hey, can you house 50 head of cattle?
and they say yes?
Yeah.
I feel like a farmer getting 50 head of cattle, that's like hitting the dang lottery, though, because, the cattle market's dramatically changed,
Right.
too, in the last decade as far as acquisition costs. But, I mean, I also would expect that these cattle aren't in necessarily ranching condition.
Correct. They're not. They're usually thin, and they have to foster them until they're surrendered, which could be 6 months, a year. So that's a challenge for us because we're not able to post the horses' stories in the beginning if they're not surrendered. So that's where we kind of lack on the donation side of it. Is, we can't tell their stories until they're released.
Yeah. Which that's like one of the main ways you guys try and get donations is sharing these horses' stories because it's heart-wrenching.
Correct.
It makes people want to donate and help in whatever way they can.
And just knowing that these horses are from your county or one county over, or, I mean, that's abuse and neglect is right in our backyard.
Okay. You had time to think. What's your favorite story?
Think while talking.
Think while talking.
Think while talking. Oh my goodness. So, I mean, every time we go on a call, you're not rolling up to, a 4-lane highway or something, right? Every time you go, the road always narrows.
Yeah.
And it always ends up in mud and gravel and just a
And you're towing this huge horse trailer.
Yes.
Or multiples, I'm guessing, too, sometimes.
And most of our team is women, and we roll in with 4 or 5 trucks and trailers, and these guys are like, what in the world, And we can I think one of the wildest calls was there was a big herd of horses, and we pulled up, and the officer's like, you're going down that hill, and I'm like, where? I can't see anything. It's just a ridge. We topped the ridge, and all these horses, a whole herd of them, are just looking at us like, hey, what are we doing here? And it was wild, and there was no fencing to contain them. They're just all running around, and so we're just trying to, attach halters to them and get them on trailers. Some of them had never been loaded before. Some of them were babies that had never even been touched by a human before. So allowing them, earning their trust to basically put them in a dark box to get them off that property is scary. But
When you put a horse in a trailer, do you because they're so fragile. I don't know. I feel like horses, what if you hit a bump and then the horse
There's
falls over?
dividers in the trailers that kind of really keep. It's not like when you haul cattle open, like in an open agriculture. Well, I don't know how your guys' horse trailers are.
we
but
have a 4-horse stock trailer, so 2 can go in the front and 2 can go in the back, but we don't have a divider in
do
the
you guys
front with the
not?
2. So if they are able to be haltered, they're tied inside the trailer, so they can't
To hold them in place. But still, what if you hit a big old bump or something?
that's part of it. That's hauling livestock is
hashtag TDOT fix our roads.
right.
Well, for real
Don't be
though.
driving these horses down 40 right now since
Right.
snowpocalypse.
Oh my gosh.
It is rough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
That's the third time they've called me.
I just think the whole process is when you touch on that and it's, you say it like that, like there's 5 of us women out there with trucks and horse trailers, but y'all are very able, knowledgeable, good at driving trailers and trucks and being in the mud and handling these horses. I just think, you say that right off the bat. I feel like a lot of listeners can be like, oh my gosh, these ladies are stepping out in heels.
No,
And we
they're
got-
not.
and we got this this agent out there that's, but that's just not the case. Like we've
No.
seen, I wouldn't want to go Rochambeau with any of y'all. I'd be fixed to get my butt whooped. But it's just, and you tell that story. So are you guys trying to rope the horses in that scenario?
Like
Are
this?
y'all bringing,
Like this?
y'all
We have had
saddled
some,
up?
Can you
on-
do that? Can you do this?
No,
Can you
not
rope?
good.
You
No,
can't
not
rope?
good at it. No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's what we need. We call cowboys in for that actually.
you?
When there's cattle, we call in local cowboys, and they come. They bring their horses. They're tacked up, and they're roping these cattle to get them on the
Like
trailer.
off Yellowstone?
Yes. And
Don't
it's
you-
so cool to watch. Like, I'm just like,
John Dutton
in awe.
showing up. He's
Yeah.
like, Casey's gonna be
Don't
rolling
you
up
rope
in a minute.
horses too like that? Like
Yeah,
stallions?
You could.
Have you ever gotten a stallion?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't a stallion just a term like they're wild and free?
That's a Mustang.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's a
Red
Mustang.
Bird.
But so a stallion is still intact, male.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, and I have
he-
several of them currently.
He ready to meet the ladies.
He's ready
Yeah.
to tack up. He's intact, but he's ready to tack up. Okay, so have you ever had a Mustang then?
Yeah.
But I'm sure those are just like somebody finds them and then they call
There's
you
not
guys
really
they're
wild horses in Tennessee, is there?
Oh, yeah.
Is there really?
Well, okay, so they're rounded up. The Mustangs are rounded up from out west, and then they
Yeah.
rehome them here. So the goal is when you buy one of these Mustangs or adopt one from the BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management, that you are going to train the horse, right? A lot of times that doesn't happen. So I actually did have a 25-year-old branded Mustang out west that was.
What do you mean branded? Like
Like they put the brand on the neck, so it basically is like an ID number.
oh, that says like that's my horse.
Yeah, and where it came from, what year it was rounded up, that kind of thing. So anybody can pull it up from anywhere in the United States and find out where that horse came from. And this mare in particular was 25, had never been touched by humans. And I mean, 25 is a senior horse. I mean, that's old. And once you've been that feral for that long,
There's no going back.
it's really, really, really hard. But she was probably one of my more favorite stories because she did start to let people touch her. And so that was really cool.
Did she adopt it?
No, she actually had some health complications. So it wasn't the greatest end to a story, but at least she had us in the last,
Yeah.
later part of the stage.
What's your favorite adoption story?
Actually recently we had the cutest little
Was it the one you
mini
posted on TikTok?
donkeys.
Yeah.
And I was able to trailer them to their new home, and this family, they're great. They actually have a horse named they adopted it from us. His name was Brave Warrior, and he was drugged behind a truck.
Oh.
Yeah, so serious abuse.
Like it fell out of the trailer? Or do you think that was intentional?
No, it was intentional.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so they have that horse, and they've had him for a really long time, and they recently lost their 35-year-old donkey, and they were looking for, a companion for this guy, and they came into the barn, and it was like, I think that's probably one of the best parts about my job is like meeting with people who are looking for a horse, and you can tell within a couple minutes if this horse is right or this donkey's right for this home. Like, just a couple minutes, and it's like magical.
Yeah, that would be.
And so that was really cool to be a part of this week.
How often do you feel like you get to relish in the positivity?
Oh man, it's when I first started on staff, I was the adoption coordinator, so it was all like the happiness and the butterflies and rainbows and just matching people with their forever horse. And as I got into my role now, it's tough. It is tough. So I think that the joy comes from seeing the transformations, seeing the adoptions, and, seeing these people who can't own horses anymore, and they've, yeah.
And they got to give them up for whatever reason. So, okay. So right now, Horse Haven, and just because you guys are one of our bestest friends, we go to a lot of events through the year. So one that you guys do is Fall Fest, and that one's one of, I think, my favorite because everybody gets to come to where the horses are, the stables. Is that the correct
barn,
term?
yeah.
The barn,
Sure.
the barn, and you get to see all the horses, and you guys we get to ride a horse. So one time a year, my son rides a horse, and there's always like a pumpkin patch, like the typical fall, all the fall activities.
We usually set up, some years we'll set up a booth and man it, and, sometimes help out with some other local horse facilities with their fencing and turn from it, or some of you guys' volunteers' homes and all that too. Like, that's always just fun to go meet people who have been around us for a few years, and we've been around y'all for a few years.
You guys always have, is it the same horse always that you let the
paint.
kids paint on?
It's actually different horses.
Oh, different.
So
It's a
I think
special
we
spa treatment, only appointed once to each horse. We can't double up on that.
Oh, got it.
So we have used one horse a couple years in a row. But we do, it has to be a light colored horse.
Right.
That the kids can use non-toxic paints.
Right.
To put a handprint on the horse.
Of course.
And I think that's probably like one of the kids' favorite things. And I remember my sister-in-law, Brooke, she was terrified of horses.
Yeah.
And I took her to Fall Fest many, many years ago. And we did that. And she was terrified. And then I was like, look, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it. So,
I mean, they are scary. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
They're very strong creatures.
They're huge and unpredictable. And I feel okay.
I mean, I think
you
in
both
the
have been around
situation of
horses.
rescuing horses, they're probably a little less predictable than being around
Yes.
a horse that's been like professionally broke and rode regularly and saddled
I
regularly. Yeah.
wouldn't even know where to start. I'd like try and give it a carrot and it'd bite my finger off.
I would love for you to go on a call with me one time.
I would love that. I would
That'd be so cool.
I would be tickled. That would be so fun. So okay, wait, I forgot to ask you a question. We're spaghetti talking now. How did you get into Horsehaven?
So I have always been into horses, like growing up, but I never owned a horse. So I was.
How'd you get into horses?
I don't know.
I just feel like that's
The
such
good
a
old classic horse
Yeah.
girl.
well.
Yeah, it's like the thing. Like, most girls love horses or unicorns or whatever, and I was obsessed.
Oh.
Obsessed. So my mom, I will never forget this, gifted me riding lessons in a card, and for Christmas. And I always thought she was gonna have a horse in the backyard. When I woke up, like that was my dream. I think a lot of people think that.
Reality.
I feel like I missed
on
this.
that
I
one.
missed this whole category of little girl
Yeah.
life. Completely missed it.
You're either Barbie Jeep or horse.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, I was
You were
Barbie
Barbie
Jeep.
Jeep.
Yeah.
Barbie
100%.
Jeep. Okay.
So I thought every Christmas there's gonna be a horse in the backyard, And then one year,
That's good. That's a huge.
what I know,
Laura,
right?
Laura, are you
Laura.
Laura, now that I think about it, I'm like, wow. I mean, that was a very
Could
big...
you imagine getting Bristol a horse in her
No.
back?
Well, there is
Bristol's
kinda
very.
horses in the backyard.
There is kind of horses in the backyard, but Bristol is that age,
+1-865-424.
and she is like loves horses and
Yeah.
unicorns and all of that.
And she asked for one every year for Christmas, and I'm like, we have horses. We actually have them now.
There,
Honey, we can go to the barn anytime.
anytime
Anytime. But she just wants one for her,
she wants. Okay,
So my
so-
mom gifted me in a card, and it had, we're gonna start doing riding lessons, and I just remember just bawling.
like out of excitement.
Bawling, yes. And so the first day at the barn, I just, like when you're just emotional I'm not an emotional person at all. And
The horse's energy makes me emotional too.
Yes.
Like going a little bit. Tim, if you look at them, don't roll your eyes. I don't even like horses. I'm going to be frank. But something about when we go there for like the Christmas breakfast thing, I don't know.
so fun fact about horses, and this is why people are so drawn to them. A horse can hear your heartbeat from 4 feet away.
Oh, I didn't know
Can
that.
hear it. So when you're standing next to a horse, if you're nervous, they're nervous. But if you're standing next to one, your heartbeats actually start syncing together.
So they
And
can
it
calm
brings
you
a,
down.
yes, which is why people are so obsessed, right? Oh. That's like one of the only animals that can do that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, they just
That's why a lot of like people with special needs or anxiety
Yes.
really like horses.
I think that's why there's so many therapeutic horse facilities. Like, there's a couple locally that are more therapy based as well, and it was really big out west where we live, like
Missed that,
therapy
too.
based, and also like
you're into Jeeps.
there was you're always into Jeeps, but always even like more diversion programs for troubled youth that were more of like
Like, hey,
There
go
was a-
pick up this shit.
yeah, like
It'll make you feel
one of
good.
the horse
And it does.
facilities we worked at, they'd always lend out some horses, a few during the summer for a couple of these camps, and they did like extensive trail rides where they'd pack them down with these troubled youth and go get them out into the. Sounds like a camp counselor.
Well, because Tim never talks about this, but his first job was
first
few. When I met Tim, his job was cleaning out stalls and a horse. Birdie, she just
Birdie,
hold on, let me get in your lap.
It's okay.
Okay, so then your mom got you horse riding lessons, and
And so we did that for several years, and it just wasn't feasible to own a horse. I mean, it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So then in my adult life, I was working at a bank, and I saw a friend of mine brought in an ad from the Hall Shopper. Y'all remember that little like newspaper thing? And there was an ad for Horsehaven. It was like, we're looking for volunteers. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this, right? And it was just in Hardin Valley at the time, so it was just like 5 minutes, 10 minutes from my house, which was fabulous, right? So I remember going in for orientation, and my mom and I didn't have a great relationship at that point, and I thought, hey, horses can bring us back together. So we go to orientation, and I mean, it was wild. It was like 2 hours long, and I remember, I will never forget it. I stepped foot out of that orientation room and just looked at the green grass under my feet, and I was like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Exactly. And I didn't know, like, that was 12, 13 years ago. I was like, this is where I'm called to be, right here. And my mom was like, this seems like a big commitment, like a couple hours, one day a week. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And I looked at her and I said, well, I'll be doing it. So if you want to do something, both of us to do together, then yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to start on Wednesday nights. And so ever since then, my Wednesday nights have been sacred.
Every Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
So every
Which
time
is
we ask
honestly
you guys to
a
go to
real,
dinner on Wednesday.
yeah,
we
it's
wish
a
you
real
could,
killer for my
we wish
social.
you would switch that day.
Yeah, to like I don't know, a day that we also have something,
Yeah.
but it's a real bummer. But yeah, Wednesday nights.
Yeah. So when Dustin and I got together, he knew. He was like, Wednesday nights, there's nothing happening, And I remember when we had our kids, his mom was like, can I have them on Wednesday nights? Because I know you're still going to be at the barn. And I was like, absolutely. And I worked up until basically I delivered both kids, volunteering and working. And
Yeah, she's like, Lord help, and we ain't having deliveries on Wednesdays.
Nope.
'Cause-
Or
we
Ashley's like, I'm delivering in a barn, just
yeah.
like baby Jesus.
we can do it. We can do
manger
it.
prep. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I got a vet on call,
It's close
fine.
enough. It's close
fine.
enough, honestly.
Got like antiseptic, horse spray,
Yeah.
and fly season. You're like, just get some of that out real quick. Bring it out here. Wipe this baby down so I can finish working.
So I can
with these
finish
horses.
bucking out this stall.
I brought both of the kids to work after 2 weeks. And I was showing horses, and I had Bristol on my back, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'd put her in a round pen, and she'd sit there and play, and I'd go show a horse right next door. I mean, I didn't leave her, of course,
I know,
but
I know, yeah.
she was obsessed. She was obsessed. So
And then now little Briggs with his cowboy boots.
oh,
I think he already thinks he's a cowboy.
100%.
Yeah, he is who he is. And then, okay, so your first job with Horsehaven was being the adoption coordinator.
And then I moved up to operations, and then they were like, "Yeah, you're going to be the executive director," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
I remember now.
What?
Yeah, that was just a couple years ago.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And I love it. I do love it. It's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah. And our longest standing volunteer has been there for 14 years.
Well, you've got to be getting up there.
I'm at 12 or 13. She's beat me by like a year.
Yeah.
But
Get her to quit so you can be.
Oh, that's I was thinking the same thing, but I'm like, you can't say that.
And she's
gracefully.
actually on my shift. She's
awesome.
actually on my shift. So we have a great group of people. We run 14 shifts a week, so 7 days a week, AM and PM. And like you said,
Is Rich still doing his shift?
I think he's petered out a little
He's
bit.
petered out.
Yeah, they got a lot going on.
They do.
Building, moving, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Grandparenting,
yeah.
working here.
Busy man.
If we fired him, he'd probably
What?
be able to get down there. Though,
Yeah,
more
no, you
often.
don't need to do that. It's very important here.
So he is. He runs it around all day.
But Rich started volunteering too. That's Tim's dad for.
He started volunteering after he came to Dancing for the Horses.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a perfect transition.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about all the events that Horsehaven does
right.
every year.
So-
we already covered Fall Fest.
Fall
Like
Fest.
talk about Fall
We got
Fest for a minute.
Santa.
So
Breakfast.
the Breakfast in the Barn deal was a creation of mine and my friends, and I had gone to the racetrack up in Keeneland, and we had done a trackside breakfast, and we got to watch the horses, and I just remember it's so powerful, and I was like, I want to recreate this at home. And so I was like, how cool would it be to have breakfast with the horses for the kids? So that's kind of how that event started. And it's a limited amount of people that can come in. But I think it's probably one of my more favorite events because it's so personal and everybody seems to really enjoy it. And the tickets sell out, I mean,
Really fast.
sometimes within a week.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It is fun. I mean, as somebody, and it's just funny because it's in like a personal busy season of ours. So we usually bring Brantley like all suited up for basketball.
Or
And
whatever,
he's
yeah.
taking pictures with Santa in his
love it.
basketball get up, and he'll wear like his basketball uniform and cowboy boots and
Yeah.
just-
But you have to say, so Santa, honestly, I love the horses
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything, but the Santa's my favorite part because Santa is always your.
My dad.
Yeah, trigger warning if there's kids listening.
Oh, yeah.
Santa's always your dad. And he always like does this dance like walking down. And then the kids like kind of recognize him, but then they're always like,
I don't think B understands.
I don't
No.
think B
Because
understands
then he'll
either.
like say things about Brantley, and he's like, "How do you know?"
I know. I think your kids know though, right?
Well, they call him Santa Pappy.
Okay.
And I think it's a very tough concept for them to understand.
That's super complicated, yeah.
But they're like, well, he helps the real Santa. And I'm like, yes. But they don't call him Pappy to his face. It's Santa Pappy. Like, it's a whole different persona.
Well, he is a whole different persona when he does it.
It's funny to watch him. And then they get shy around him. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just your grandfather.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell any other child in this building,
That
in this barn, that this is
you're
your grandfather.
Yeah, your well, okay. So this year, B was like, we were walking around looking at the horses because he likes, that's what we're doing. And your dad was dressed as Santa, like hiding in that last like
Yeah.
stall. And Brantley's like walking around, and then your dad is just still hiding, but he goes, "Hi, Brantley," and Brantley's like,
I remember
like,
his
and
face
he
was
just
like,
stares at him.
it was great.
Okay, so then after breakfast in the barn, what's next?
Next, our biggest event,
Mm-hmm.
dancing for the horses. And I remember I conned Tim into dancing first.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we were out on the boat, and I'm like, hey, you'd be great at this. And I don't know why you agreed, but you did. And so you did it the first year.
That was such a busy year of our life too. I was here 50 hours a week, 32 dance lessons in 8 weeks or whatever. So
Yep.
it's like, but hey, Sarah and I ended up dancing for like another year and a half down there at Go Dance, and Sarah did it the next year.
It's my favorite thing of the whole year.
It's wild. There was somebody who had talked to Nina, who's our founder, and she's like, and he's a country guy, and he's like, y'all should do something like Dancing for the Horses. Like, because Dancing for the Stars,
yeah.
or Dancing with the Stars, or whatever, was really big. And she's like, all right. And that's where that morphed into. And I think this is our 12th year?
Yeah.
12th or 13th?
And this year it's hosted at Bridgewater, right?
Yes,
That's
it is.
gonna be awesome.
So
That's gonna be great.
we started out at the Cotton Eye Joe. That's where this event started. And then it moved to the expo, then to Bridgewater. And we moved it back to the expo after COVID to kind of see like how everything would kind of transition. And so we quickly outgrew the expo, and tickets are almost sold out.
Are they?
Already for Bridgewater. So it's going to be a great event. And we have 8 celebrity dancers, one from Tim's Fencing. Jamie. I'm really excited to see
Yeah.
how he...
Oh, it's gonna be good.
How much money?
Another one, incling your husband.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's pumped, man.
Oh,
He
I like
is.
know he's doing it, but then, anyways.
Yeah, he has to do it. He goes, "Can I please do it?" And I was like, "Sure,
Of course he
absolutely."
has. I love
So
that.
he is. After he saw Barry Dickey from Pro Toy last year, he's like, "No, I want to be Rhinestone Cowboy," and he was all about it.
And that he is.
I just
That
wanted
he
him to
is.
dress up as either Brooks or Dunn,
Oh, that'd be good.
which I guess isn't too far off from really how he'll be.
I don't know if I
dressed
can.
up,
We're not saying the theme this year is icons. So each celebrity and their pro are an icon.
Oh, are we not saying what icons they are?
I-
but no, we can't release that.
Oh,
yet.
why?
No, it's teaser, right?
I don't think no verbiage has been released online about it either. So
Oh.
we should keep that on the.
On the DL.
On the
I guess you
DL.
have to buy a ticket to find out.
You're gonna have to buy a
Apparently, you
ticket
better
to find
hurry
it.
up and buy them, though.
Which you can buy them at horsehaventn.org.
Or if you just want to make a donation, I believe you can do that at
Absolutely.
horsehaventn.com, right?
So basically, all of our dancers are competing on a professional, like ballroom level, and then they also compete on fundraising. So there's awards for both, and then there's a combined award, which is the Isaac Award. And this is a horse that came in, was rescued very thin, and was adopted by.
They play that video
Yes, the
every year
video.
for it.
Yep. So that's a combined award. So it's the coveted award, I guess.
You should see if she could come speak this
I
year.
know we've
that
never
girl.
we've
I've
never gotten the award though at
Yeah,
Tim's Fencing. Maybe
we've
this
never
year.
gotten it.
Maybe this year
Yeah.
we'll get it.
Jamie needs a hustle up his fundraising.
Right.
He's a pretty strong fundraiser though. Most of your donations too come in closer to the event than this far out.
Right.
I've been
Speaking from
fundraising for
experience.
him, but somebody's
You
beating
haven't
him.
been trying hard enough, I guess.
This year the dancers
Sarah,
have...
you cheated last year. I'm sorry.
Why'd you cheat?
She wrote herself a big donation.
Hey, I don't care how the money
Sarah
comes
didn't
in.
Sarah forbid me from doing it my year.
I do
and then
remember that.
she did it. So I was like, that's just
Well,
dirty.
to be honest, I
That's
thought I was going to
dirty.
be able to fundraise more, like naturally, like actually
It's
do
hard.
it. It's hard.
It's hard. And that's what basically a lot of my job is, is because we're not state or federally funded. So we rely on donations and, money from events and that kind of stuff. So this is our largest fundraiser. Last year we raised a little over $60,000. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge chunk of our operating.
That's more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
And then this year our goal is 75,000. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a fun event though.
That's a reasonable growth.
I
though.
think that's for sure.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, because you guys have announced the new property, right?
We have announced that it's in Blount County.
Very
and some
cool.
details about the property. We were graciously donated
Which is
this property.
absolutely insane.
Phenomenal.
That you guys have. I mean, I think that just speaks volumes to the organization that you have somebody willing to donate a property
Yeah, I mean, there's
free and clear to y'all to be able to just
yeah,
make a perfect sanctuary for you guys' mission.
and that's what we've been. I don't question God's timing. I mean, we have had some great facilities over the years, some with free leases, some with minimal leases. But this God just opened some serious doors for us, and this property is about 40 acres. And does have some existing structures on it, but we will have to, build a barn. So our capital campaign will be rolling out soon. But it's great because we can make the property kind of what we need for our rescue horses. We need some ICU stalls. We need, just simple things to help our horses in the rehabilitation process.
Man, I love it. I mean, it is a beautiful property. I know that many people haven't had the opportunity, obviously, to see it without the specific details released, but it is a property that would intrigue just about anybody. Like, just to call a spade. The views are phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
The lay of the land's phenomenal. The facilities that are already there are top notch. It's phenomenal. I mean, just as somebody that just loves real estate as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's an artist could paint a beautiful picture there. It is just
And then
get Thomas Kincaid out there,
right when you throw some horses out there, it makes it even better.
Absolutely. Painting John Wayne just riding across that land there,
Oh, that'd be great. Yellowstone.
John did.
So yeah, we are starting on some fencing over there.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction, I'd say.
Yeah,
I would say we are.
hit a couple snags, but nothing that Tim's fencing can
That'll
handle.
happen on them bigger jobs.
Do you want
Sometimes you'll hit
to
some snags.
touch on horse fencing? That's an interesting
Ooh,
topic
yeah.
that we talk a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, talk about something that's probably has some of the biggest arguments about in fencing. As most people know, that anybody involved in equestrian work whatsoever is set in an opinion, and there's a lot of opinions on horse fencing. There turns out. So, my favorite thing to install for a horse is going to be a 2x4 woven wire. That's an S-knot fence is sometimes what it's referred to, and putting the wire on the inside, and you really got to focus on horse safety. I have seen probably in the last decade a big reduction in the amount of barbed wire we run in equestrian fencing, just because, especially in a situation where Horse Haven would be, rehabilitating these horses, getting them used to human interaction, and maybe even interacting with other horses from time to time. I'm sure you guys have rescued some that have lived lives of solidarity.
Yep.
A running horse can definitely breach a lot of fences if they're not built correctly. And, once you introduce barbed wire, even just in a single strand at the top of the fence, there's countless number of of horse and cattle injuries, attributed to that, because you got a animal well over 1,000 pounds that can run well over 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's a lot of force. That's a lot of inertia. So, we partnered up and had a lot of input from Ashley and Nina and some other people too on the exact specifications. And, in their case, we went with 5 foot tall, and, we're doing some seriously deep driven T-posts and wood posts, lots of bracing. We're really just trying to plan for the future. But that's also why we started talking about this project months and months and months ago, and we had a very, very long planning period just to make sure that we were focusing on getting the perimeter exactly where it needed to be for any future expansion. So it's been a fun job.
I'd be curious of your guys' opinions, just because phone calls we get here in the office that have to do with horse fencing usually is like one of two questions that we get. One is a specific brand call out of woven wire. They all want red. What do they want?
Red brand.
Red brand.
That's a marketing thing. Red brands really position themselves well to be the name of horse fence. But I will say, this really isn't even a product that I pitched to you all just because I don't think the cost analysis benefit was worth it. But there's another brand that's making a lot of quick movement up in like Lexington, up at the big horse facilities up there, called Tornado Wire, which is actually a V woven wire, S knots, and that's been fencing that you can put a little bit more tension on. But yes, you are right. People call in, they want the red brand wire, which has a thicker top and bottom gauged wire, a little bit thinner in the field. But I don't think that's necessarily going to make or break a fence. Typically, installing it properly is what's going to be the bigger benefit.
What do you think?
I agree. I agree.
If you're up in Kentucky and you have
If you got a damn Kentucky Derby horse in there, you probably are doing whatever you can to keep that horse in there.
Right.
then you're massaging those ones at night.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like a Wagyu beef.
You're not letting them out to pasture too often,
They eat better than we do.
Oh, I'm sure.
You're putting them on that horse treadmill for a little
Right.
bit, letting them rest, washing them every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole different ball game.
Those
And then-
dressage people.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the second question we get a lot in here is a question I already know your answer, but I'm going to say it, is electric wire fencing for your rural animals.
I think it's effective. I think the thing that people that are maybe moving on to a plat of land for the first time and they haven't been raised around, whether it's horses or cattle or goat or anything like that. The problem with electric fencing, in my opinion, the biggest problem is if you don't have impeccable fence line maintenance, it's going to ground out. Like this,
Yep.
If you get too many, even pieces of like wheatgrass touching that and it's a little bit damp, that electric line's not going to work. You also have just things like trees falling into the fence and this or that. It's not going to take a whole lot of weight to snap the tensile wire. I think electric wires and like a single strand on top are extremely effective, but I don't know, just with how much it rains and how fast we have vegetation grow in East Tennessee, like if you're not keeping that fence line sprayed, a lot of times you just see, oh, my horse pushed through the fence.
Yep.
My electric fence isn't working.
Which I think is great to have the electric wire on the top, because horses naturally are just going to rub. Mm-hmm. They're going to be itchy and they're going to rub their butts on your fence. And that's a way to keep them off. And keep them, from fighting with their buddy next door over the fence and pushing something down. So I definitely agree with that 100%. And, yeah.
And that's why also in like corral fencing, we typically board the insides of the fence because you don't have that pinch point. Like if the horse is on the inside of the fence and so is the post. If you use a round post, it's going to mitigate the issue of them hitting that, because it can actually like dislocate the shoulder complex, the horse and all that. But, having that board on the inside, because it's really a rub rail at the end of the day when you're using board fence. That way when the horse is just, or you see like barrel racers or people that are doing arena sports, they'll hit those hard posts and can actually cause a horse to go lame. And the ending to that's not pretty.
Correct. And if that board is on the outside and they kick, it kicks it out, and then your fence is open.
Yeah. They do
pushes
that too.
Oh gosh.
Are horses like dogs that they like some horses just naturally just want to get out?
Oh yeah. And some are totally fine just being exactly where they're at. And then you've got your explorers or your jumpers. That's the worst, is when you've got a horse that will jump and clear a fence. Because how are you going to keep it in? Right?
Yeah. Well, what do you do at that point?
I guess you build a taller fence.
Just put a 6-foot privacy around that horse?
I think it's like horses are smart too. Like once they get out, they're gonna be like you let a horse out one time, or they break a fence and get out. That's what I've seen, at least in the past. Those tend to be chronic offenders, and that's usually when you introduce like a hot wire.
Yeah.
It's usually there's a remedy to that pretty quick. But not all animals are created equal. Sometimes
right.
you'll put. I mean, there's just some animals that are so soft natured that they're never even gonna rub a fence.
Yeah. And then you've got the others that
That do nothing
just
but
destroy a fence. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just wanted to. We talk about horse haven a lot on this podcast, so I just want to take a moment and hear from you, your why and your what, and that was my goal. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Let's do dinner not on a Wednesday
Not
Yep,
on a
definitely not a
Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
or Tuesday or Thursday. So now we
Yeah,
got
y'all are
Mondays
busy.
and
We
Fridays.
got Mondays and Fridays.
Or karate.
But then usually when I'm like, hey, you want to do dinner? Oh, we got a birthday party. We've got this. So y'all are just as busy. You know, it's hard. But we make time, right?
We figured it out. We figured it
Yeah.
out.
We might go 2 weeks, but that's okay.
It's okay. We figured
we
it out.
need to go on an iron horse riding trip soon, for dinner.
What's
I
that?
like it.
Harley ride.
Yeah, we can go on
Oh.
a Harley ride, yeah.
The iron horse.
Where'd you hear that term?
That's, just
That's
the term.
wild. Oh, I know.
I mean, remember in Daytona? They got the Iron Horse Saloon down
They
there.
do.
They do, but I never put.
Is it by the Cabbage Patch?
I
don't
never
even
put all that
know.
together.
Oh, my word. Daytona.
Daytona for Iron Horse Week.
Oh, gosh. Sarah got her taste on that in the back of the Harley for a few days, and
She was ready to trade her in.
yep.
We rode the Harley to a grocery store the other day. I was like, I can't believe I sat on this thing for 100 miles.
It's a lot. But you look cute on it, so that's all that matters,
You know,
right?
truly, that is what matters.
Yeah.
Thank
Truly.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Truly
I mean, it's like people who wear like stiletto heels. Those are not comfortable.
But they look cute.
You don't look the part. You know?
All right. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Adios.
And then Milo plays the music.